Live Super Bowl Sunday special session. Hey, welcome. Cheers. Good morning. Mm, extra good coffee today. I gotta grab my guitar, grab my coffee. Grab your coffee, get your guitar. How's everyone doing today? I kind of messed up the time, so I'm hoping some people tune in so I don't turn off. We'll see who tunes in. I'll give it a minute or two. But if you're here, type in the chat, do this, and we can get started if there's a couple more people that show up. I'll just noodle around and you just type in the chat if you want. I'm just going to review this song. I haven't played it in a couple of years. It seems like grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet on the sunny side of the street. 3625. That's a good turnaround. Different books will have different things. The lyrics are, can't you hear that pitter pat and the happy tune, your step, the gospel style. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk. Such a fun song. There's that pentatonic chord I talked about yesterday. 2 5s. Hey Dave, welcome. We'll wait a couple more minutes and see if anybody else tunes in. And today I kind of messed up the time. I realized I put 8:45 p.m. instead of a.m. I do that sometimes when I don't have enough sleep or coffee. When I say gospel style, I mean, Dave, that's a good question. On that progression there on the in how I wrote more of a jazz style, 2/5, going into A minor. Okay, but so say we have a I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see if anyone else tunes in. I don't want to talk too much shop until some people tune in. But there's the 2/5, the jazz 2/5 can be gospelized. That's Tracy's lingo, gospel. I think gospel music is a lot of 4/5s and diminished chords instead of 2/5. So again, I'll talk about that in a second. If you're here, type in the chat. Don't forget to do that. I kind of messed up the time, so let's see if anybody else tunes in today. Otherwise, we'll just postpone it for a later date. Hopefully, you guys caught the previous session on Out of Nowhere. That was a really beautiful song. So yeah, let's wait a couple more minutes, one more minute, and see if there could get a couple more people to tune in. Otherwise, we'll just postpone this session. You guys can go watch your Super Bowl Sunday. David, that's a good question. Yeah, I do have my iReal Pro playlist on Patreon. It's downloadable as a Patreon member. You can just go to iReal, type in iReal Pro in the search, and it'll bring up a whole bunch of posts that I've tagged as iReal Pro, and then you'll see Tracy's. I keep updating it, so I mean, in my personal playlist with my band, I have about 200 songs that we rotate from. I mean, that's an approximation. from gypsy jazz to swing to Latin to some pop stuff, Beatles songs. But I think on Patreon I've posted like my favorite gypsy jazz or things like that for what I would recommend. Okay, well, the verdict is in. I messed up the time. Is anybody else here? David, I really appreciate you being here. Of course, yeah. Is anybody else here? Type in the chat. I'd like to see a few more people, see if we're going to continue this one today. No offense, David. I just I usually try to have at least about 5 or 10 people for these, but if I messed up the time, that's totally on me too. I do have some private lessons coming up, so that's why I need to watch my time today. And a gig. And a gig today. It's a busy day. Oh, we've got 4 people. Let's see if we can get one more person tuned in. Then I'll do this lesson on Sunnyside. Come on, people, get with it. Okay, so I do want to say that you should grab the tabs here on Patreon. I'm looking at it too, just to see what I wrote. Here's what I wrote. We'll just practice it together. I love that chord. I do that all the time. That's my harmonic minor chord. Alex, welcome. Good morning. Love that chord. So this. And then this is Dave. This is where I said you can gospel it up. That's a 2/5. A lot of people don't realize that that's probably the more basic version of the 2/5. G7 to G sharp 7. It's E7 going to A minor. But the jazzers will put 2/5, B minor 7 flat 5, E7, A minor. That's a 2/5, right? But if you do this, I call that the gospel style, more gospelized. The verse is this. That's a 2/5. This is a 4, G7, or 5, key of C. And then G sharp is the sub for E7. And then A minor. And I'm just kind of busting out some arpeggios, getting warmed up a little bit this morning. So again, that would occur where you have the B half dim, E7. You can do this. Love that. So again, it's nice to have those variations. And the G sharp dim is a sub for the E7. So again, you can kind of, some fake books will actually show different things. Hey, looks like there's some people here. Alex, thanks for saying hi. Let's go ahead and get started then on this song. Appreciate you guys joining in on, especially when I screwed up the time zone or the time, the AM, PM thing. Sometimes I don't look at that part of it. I just look at the time. Who else is here today? Thanks for joining in. This is a fun song. So make sure you grab the PDFs here. Right here on the sunny side of the street. Just go to the link in the description. Welcome. Very welcome to see you. Grab your coat and get your hat. Life could be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. And that was a 3-6-2-5. 3-6-2-5 is usually the turnaround I prefer for the first ending. And I was having a good conversation with the student the other day about turnarounds. And I say, it's nice for the band to help the soloist and the vocalist or whoever by doing the 3-6-2-5 on the first turnaround. Because when you have an A section that is a song that has an A section that's AABA, you can easily get lost on which section you're at. So if you hear that 3 6 2 5, that's often a good kind of a cue to the guys, like, hey, that's the first ending. And the second A, by the way, would be the resolve to the one. And oftentimes after the end of the song, you're gonna end on the one. You could do a 3 6 2 5, but usually it's gonna be a 1 6 2 5 turnaround. So that's a really great tip. Is put on a 3 6 2 5 turnaround on the first A. And again, that helps to know that you're gonna repeat that A section. When you hear this, I'll show you what I mean. See, then you know it's going to go right back to the top. This is the first A, you'll hear it. See, that turnaround. This time we'll close it out. See, that resolves it. So that's your second A. The first A, you have this 3 6 2 5 1, and that one now is the top. And you can do that on the last A too. Of course, after the B, you have 3 A's often in these songs, A, A, B, A. So that can also be the last one. But it's nice to resolve it to the 1 and then do the 5, or 1 6 2 5. But it's nice to hear the 1 on the final A. So that's my little tip there is 3 6 2 5 turnaround on the first A. And just get used to doing that. That chart might not say that, but it's important that you can do the 3 6 2 5. So here's what I like to do in the key of C: E minor 7, like this, A7 flat 9. I often use the open string. I diminish the E is what I do. There's a good trick using the diminished sub. You go from the 3 E minor 7, we're in the key of C, diminish it. But because we can use the open A instead, so that way you can hear the bass. And then on the 2 chord, I'm doing D minor 11. By the way, I'm keeping that G note constant because that's what the vocalist would be singing. It's nice to have that as a pedal tone there. And then G7. So again, this is a common tone. E minor 7 with a G, A7 flat 9 with a G, D minor 11, and then G7. And the D minor 11 contains that G note. And then I like to do tritone sub. Instead of G7, I just do this: D flat 7 flat 5. So you have this. And then to the 1. Your feet to the sunny side of the street. Get it? See that turn? It's a quick change in the song. Gospel. So the gospel style, G7 or 13, G sharp, and then the A minor. I love that. And I use that a lot. Even if the band is doing B minor 7 flat 5 to E7. Because B minor 7 flat 5 is essentially a substitute for the G7. See, you get a G9. So I'm playing G13, G sharp dim, which is a sub for the E7, into the A minor. Then, of course, you do your A minor blues, A minor Dorian. So those are just some soloing strategies that I really like to use on a minor 2/5. This, I think this often, and vice versa. So you can do the same thing. You can bust out your 2/5 licks on this. And get bluesy too. This is a great song. Okay, so there's a lot of fun soloing concepts to talk about, and I recommend that you check out my Etude #1 on Patreon. It's really a jam-packed Etude. All these concepts are on there. And I have a chord melody arrangement too. I might do another one. I was just playing through this. I was like, oh, that would be fun too to throw in and demonstrate some various substitutions that are possible. Michael, good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Sunday morning coffee is kicking in. I like it. So again, grab the PDF if you haven't already done that. The link is in the description. Okay. It's just got my I was gonna say the chord melody. The chord melody is not in this. You'd have to either purchase it separately in the link in the description, which is also included. It includes my Etude number 1, or you can join Patreon and grab it all. Here's the melody. That's the C major pentatonic. There's a pickup note. Grab your coat and get your. That's just a C major penta. You can't get any more. You can't get any more inside in the pentatonic. So the melody is grab your coat and get your hat. Now we're on the E7 chord. We're just going through a quick analysis of this, and I love that flat 9. Kind of darkens it up a little bit. That's a secondary dominant. The E7 is a 5 of what? And it's important. I might even go through this quick exercise. It's important for you to, and I will go through this quick exercise actually. It's important for you to know your secondary dominants. Hey, Eric, you made it. Nice. No reviewing for you. All right, guys, grab your guitars. Let's go through the diatonic chords in the key of C as 7th chords. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, and C major 7. Notice I'm just staying all on the 5th string, and the scale is this. That's the C major scale. This is called the harmonized scale, but we're using 7th chords. And descending. This is jazz guitar 101 right here. You got to be able to do that in any key. Key of F. I'm staying on the 6th string just to show you. Go up the scale and down scale. You can switch strings, like on the F one here. I'll do it on G. You could go G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, and then cross over to C major 7, D7, E minor 7, F sharp dim, half dim. You could do fully dim. It's beautiful, but that's not diatonic anymore. To be correct diatonically, you got to do F sharp half dim. These are good exercises if you're wondering what kind of warm-ups can I do to play jazz guitar. I've got 2 things for you to show you. That's one of them. The second one is just to make sure you know these chord shapes. So I'll just start on A major 7, A dominant 7, A minor 7, A minor 7 flat 5, A fully dim 7. And then don't forget the 2 6 chords, major 6 and minor 6. Sometimes I call the diminished 7 a 6 chord because it still has that 6th degree. And then do it on the 5th string root. This is just a quick warm-up routine. D major 7, D dominant 7, D minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5. I go in this order and I recommend it. D dim 7, D major 6, and D minor 6. That's such a great jazz chord warm-up routine that will prepare you to play any of these standards. Okay, just make sure you can do that on the 6th string root and the 5th string root. And I also have it on Patreon. I have a worksheet. I recommend, I know most of you are on Patreon, grab that worksheet. It's a grip chord, but it's updated. Now I also include the 4th string root. So we have F major 7, F dominant 7, F minor 7, F minor 7 flat 5, F dim 7, F major 6, and F minor 6. By doing that, that allows you to stay in one area. And I demonstrated this quite a bit recently, especially on Patreon. G major 7, C major 7, F major 7. So you get like through the circle of fourths essentially there. And then you do here. You go through all 12 keys by sliding up 3 frets. Oh, it's a great progression. It's a very wild progression. I'm going to analyze it with you all in a second here. Let's get to it. Carl, there's no such thing as late. Cheers. Good morning. Appreciate you. I'm just going through a few routines, little warm-ups to get us started on this Sunday morning. Get your mind thinking. I demonstrated the diatonic seventh chords harmonize. Diatonic, that means to the key, the major scale. Just that's the most important thing to get down. Again, here it is on C. If you can't do this, get my worksheets on Patreon. Do it. Practice it with me. It's on Patreon, you guys. Patreon is where we practice together. That's why I say Patreon is my community. I'm practicing along with you. I'm just kind of coaching you a little bit maybe, but I'm learning all the time myself. I'm just wanting to get better. So what I'm just demonstrating here, I'm going to demonstrate secondary dominance in a second. This is a big concept. So grab your guitar, do this with me. The C major scale first. One string, fifth string in this case. Now the harmonized scale with the seventh chords, major seven, minor seven, minor seven. You got to know the order of these as well. Major seven, 5 is dominant seven, 6 is minor seven, half diminished on the 7, and then back home to the major 7, the 1, and descending. Very, very beautiful study. Just so something as simple as that, diatonic, right? You do that, it's like just noodle around these chords. There's a good video of Barry Harris talking about this, how important just playing diatonic seventh chords are. And he asked the guitar player in the video lesson and workshop, create an intro, diatonic seventh chords. And that's what you need to do. Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? Find your fortune. But again, these seventh chords, you'll be able to play all of these jazz standards once you get these basic shapes. Then you can add on 9s and 13s. But you got to start here, the diatonic seventh chords, and go up and down so you don't have to think about it. And then one exercise I love to do is to do that inner voice lead. I'm going to talk about secondary dominance. I'm going to show you this first. 7, 6. Such a pretty sound. 7, 6. 7, 6. 7. This one's a little bit trickier because you got to get the flat 6 there on the E minor. Diatonic. 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. And this one is also 6, and then 7, 6, and 7. So that was doing the C major 7. This is a great exercise. Beautiful. Inner voice leading. That's an inner voice leading type of an exercise, using the diatonic seventh chords and then going down below from the 7 to the 6 to create this little voice leading. So definitely try that out. I've got that on Patreon again too. It's just called inner voice leading. I love that. So pretty. The next thing, I'm just going over some jazz guitar warm-ups here. If you're wondering what could I be practicing here for jazz guitar chords, besides just like the grip chord routine, which I demonstrated, you got to have that down. This 5/7 chords and the 2/6 chords, have that down. You don't have to think about it. And also, you got to know your bass notes. I can't ignore saying that. One thing I always work with my students on is just knowing those bass notes on the 6th and 5th strings, and you can think of it on the 4th string if you're doing those shapes too. Chris, welcome to the chat here. We're just practicing some jazz guitar this morning. So again, if I say B flat, if I say this is one quiz I'll just do with you. Maybe you can do this with me. Yeah, you don't have to type it in the chat unless you're really fast at typing. But let's do a quick quiz on your note knowledge. That might be a new Patreon series for us to practice note knowledge on the sixth string. Ready? I say B flat, you say six. This is the name of the game. I say F, you say one. You can play it too if you can. A, five. I do this with my students, my private students. D, 10. E flat, you say 11. A flat, 4. Ready? I'm going to slow it down and I'm not going to say it, then I'll quiz you. But be honest with yourself. How well do you know your notes on the sixth string? We'll do the fifth string. Let's just a little jazz guitar warm up. Get your mind thinking. With jazz guitar, you kind of have to think sometimes. It's different from rock and blues sometimes, right? B, you say 7, right? Okay, so be honest with yourself. I like to see in the chat, how fast you are. Say, I'm not very good at this, or I'm really good at this, too easy. I'll give you a couple notes and you can say it with me. G sharp, 4. F sharp, 2. Okay, how are you guys doing? Type in the chat, I'm curious. E flat, you say 11. Just be able to identify the note in the fret that you're on. C, you say 8. This is just a sixth string, okay? E, you say 0 or 12. Did we go through all 12 of them? I'm not sure. How you guys doing? Type in the chat. I'm kind of curious on how's your note, what did I call it? Note knowledge. Yeah, note knowledge. There we go. Thanks for doing this, you guys. If you're enjoying these live streams, it helps me quite a bit. And that's all I ask is that if you enjoy it, to give me this. Okay, so we're going to do the fifth string. Let's just warm up on this. And I'm going to talk about secondary dominance. This helps us analyze. Oh, that's good this helps us. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I'm curious on how you guys' note knowledge is on the sixth and fifth string, because that's essential. If you're going to play jazz guitar, you got to know your bass notes on the sixth and fifth string, because when you open up a chart, a fake book, if it says F major 7, bam, F major 7, A minor 7 flat 5, bam, you have those two locations on the sixth and fifth string with the root. You got to know that first. It doesn't help if you know the shape, but don't know where your bass note is. It's not going to sound right. So you got to be a bass player. Number one, I always say this. Number one, first thing I say, map out the bass line. Just map out the bass line. So on this song, grab your coat, get your hat, doorstep, back your feet on the sunny side of the street. And then put the chord, see, the chord shape. After you have the bass line mapped out. So again, that's why I'm going through this routine, this exercise with you, so that you think about where you're going to play these chord shapes. Generally, I like to stay in this position on the guitar, this like range, 3 to 10. I don't usually play chords way up on the 12th, and even down here on F. This is get a little bit muddy for me, so I kind of stay away from too low. Michael, okay, thanks for letting me know. You guys, let's do the fifth string for practice. This is great practice. And I might even be saying the chords to this song. Ready? C, you say 3. And I'll give you a couple milliseconds longer. E, just say the number or play it with me. 7, this is just so that you know. F, that's 8. D, 5. Some of you might say, well, I could play it faster than I could say it. The numbers, but that's good. I try to do both. B flat, 1, B, 2, E flat, 6, G sharp, 11, A, open, or 12. Okay, ready? D flat. Okay, play it with me. If it sounds right, then you got it. 4th fret. What else is there? B, 2. Okay, try to be fast at that, all right? This is just, we could do this on all 6 strings, but that's going to take the whole lesson today. So, but this is a great exercise. What I'm essentially saying is when you open up a fake book, be a bass player first. Just make sure you can do that. Maybe even sing the melody. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep. Just being the bass player. Then I put the shape. With those blues on parade. The song's so cool. A fun song that the one turns to dominant. A lot of you now have been tuning in and know all my favorite tricks to talk about as a teacher, right? I always say when the one chord turns to dominant, it goes where? Type it in the chat. You all know the routine. When the one goes to dominant, that's pulling us. In these jazz standards, when the one chord turns to dominant, it's going to pull us to the four chord, like 95% of the time. Ooh, we've got Hadam. Nice to see you. Michael, thanks for tuning in. Yes, the one turns to dominant, C major 6, goes to C7. That's going to pull us to the 4. And then this is quite the common turn, the progression. This is a Lady Be Good progression. I'm not afraid. Tritone, B minor 7 flat 5, E7. I was saying I like to gospel it up a little bit. G7, G sharp in, a little walk up. That's to feel good. It's nice to know these little hacks, these little subs. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a sec. Okay, we're doing good. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to do this. I really appreciate it. We're doing all these exercises today. This is a good lesson. You'll have to review this later. I'll leave this one on Patreon. Oh, I'll leave it on YouTube too for now. All these bonus video lessons, they get cataloged on Patreon. But I often do leave them up on YouTube too. We've got to do one more exercise so I can make sure you understand how to analyze these songs. And that is the use of secondary dominants. So we did this exercise. Do it with me. Harmonize C major scale with 7 chords. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And go backward. That was side slipping. I think that's how side slipping came out. This. So I'm like, oops, slip it into the chord, right? There's no such thing as wrong. That's jazz. So 1. Okay, and then now let's put the 5 chord. So you create these secondary dominants. Here's what I demonstrated many times when I hope you guys are getting used to my little practice routines. You got the 1, you got the 5, and back to the 1. You got the 2, the 5, the 2, and the 2. This is good study. 3, the 5 of the 3, 3. The 4, the 5 of the 4, 5. 1, 4. 5, 5 of the 5, 5. 6, 5 of the 6, 6. Have to finish. Doesn't get 1. And then those are secondary dominants. So listen to it. You can even do this. that. So there I went like this. Check out the bass line. C major 7, A7, D minor 7, B7, E minor 7, C7, F major 7, D7, G7, E7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, and C7 major 7. So again, do that with me. C major 7, A7, D minor 7, B7, E minor 7, C7, F major 7, D7, G7, E7, A minor 7, B half dim, and back to C. The beauty of that is that you're using these secondary dominants to pull you into the chord that you're going to. Remember, we're just walking up the harmonized scale. This. In the key of C. But now we're putting the 5 chord in front of each one of those structural chords, except for the half diminished, the B half dim, which is basically just a G7 chord, already the 5. So you don't need to do that one. That's why it's NA. So check it out. Now I'm jazzing it up a little bit. 13ths. Such a good. You can add extensions, but here it is without the extensions. It's a really important exercise. Well, that will explain all of these chords in many of these jazz standards by knowing those secondary dominants. D minor 7 gets A7, E minor 7 gets B7. The 4, F major 7 gets C7. That's when I say that when the 1 turns to dominant, C major turns to C7. That pulls you to the 4. D7, G7. Okay, you're going to see all of these in this song. That's why I got to go through this. If you're going to analyze it with me, you got to know, oh, that's a 5 of the 2. That's a 5 of the 4. That helps explain so much of these jazz standards and for you to improvise on it. Well, one more thing though, in front of those 5 chords, we could put 2 5s. So check it out. If we, instead of going 5 to D minor, we go 2 5. We could go E minor 7 flat 5 to D minor. Now I want to go to E minor. I went F sharp half dim, B7, E minor 7. Now I'm going to go to F major, G minor 7, C7, F major 7. Now I'm going to go to G7, A minor 7, D7. See, I'm just putting the 2 chord in front of it. I'm going to A minor, so I got to go B half dim, E7. And notice each one of the 3 minor chords, their 2 is going to be half diminished, as if you're in the harmonic minor scale for that chord at that time. I know this is a lot of jazz guitar talk today, but again, that will explain all of these jazz standards. So I'm just walking up the scale with 2 5s in front of. Right up the scale. The other thing I was talking about is you could use diminished passing chords. This is the sub for the dominant chord, but this gives it more of that gospel flavor, okay? So instead of going C major 7, A7 to D minor, for the A7 chord, you could let the bass player do the A, and you could do C sharp off the 3rd. So you get this. I like that. To me, that's when I think of gospel music. A lot of these diminished 7th chords has this beautiful tension resolution. This. Now check it out. Now we're going to do the same thing. B7, D sharp dim, E minor. Now we want to go to F major. We can stay on the E, but turn to diminish. Now we're going to go to the G7, to the A minor. Doesn't that feel good? I love those. And then, so check it out. diminish on this one like this. But then I want to resolve too. That's the gospel exercise right there, using those diminished passing chords for the fives. Michael says, oh, I got to catch up on some of these comments here. Eric says 1 equals major 7, 2 is minor 7, 3 is minor 7, 4 is major 7, 5 is dom 7, 6 is minor 7, 7 is minor 7 flat 5, and 8 equals 1, which is major 7. That's absolutely 100% correct. Thank you for writing all of that out, Eric. Let's see if I could do this. Oh, I'm not good with. Oh, there it is. Bam. I think I did it. I don't know, 100%. But yeah, and then all the secondary dominants. I have worksheets for these. Definitely check them all out on Patreon. If you look at some of my older posts on YouTube, the live streams, I will often have talked about this already. This is just a great review. Now let's get to the song today. After we just did that mega Super Bowl of chords workout there, but if you can do that and do that in any key, you're pretty much set on these jazz standards. Okay. So again, if you're just tuning in, we're going over on the sunny side of the street. Believe it or not, it's not just jazz guitar talk here, but it is. These sessions are a little bit more informal, and I always try to go over the really important things with you. So we're in the key of C. Grab your coat and get your hat. E7 is a 5 of A minor, right? That's the secondary dominant. But it goes to F6. A little prolongation there. So F6 or F major 7. Leave your worries on the doorstep. And then that's B half dim and E7. That's a 2-5 going to A minor. And it does finally go to A minor. Just direct your feet to the D7, which is a 5 of the 5. Now I'm talking the shop that we just went through. I'm doing D9. You do 13. Remember, the dominant chords can be extended or altered. On the sunny, now it goes to 2, side 5 of the street. I like to go 3, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5. And if you hear the pitter pat, F6. And then we can gospel it up. Gospel it up. So I went to G7, G sharp dim, A minor. So A minor, I did a little add 9 here, a little moody. But instead of the B half dim that you'll see on the chart to E7, you could go G7. I'm playing 13 because of the melody note. G sharp dim for the E7, and then to the A minor. D13, and then D minor. And then turn the 1 to dominant. With those blues on parade. Last day. Let's gospel it up. Sunday. See that 3-6 I was talking about this at the beginning of the lesson. The 3-6-5 helps the soloist, the band, and the vocalist, helps them know that that's the first turnaround. 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Low diminish. Got to do that Django style. Inversion practice. Now that I know the progression, cliche. Cliche. Gospel. 3/6. And there, when I say 3/6, I'm doing tritone sub. It's so easy to go chromatic. So 3/6, I say that loosely. Just make sure you go to E minor. That's the 3, and then you can go E minor, A7, E minor 7, A7, D minor 7, G7, and then go to C. That would take us to the top there. Tritone sub would be this: E minor 7. I'm doing 3-note shapes. E flat 7, D minor 7, D flat 7, and then, and at any point you can always mix and match. You can go to the real dominant, or you can do this, or you could do both if you want to get fancy. Now what I'm just doing right here is what I call chord exploration. Might be chord melody a little bit. Good morning, George. Gospel it. And let's take it out. You sing it. I'll back you up. 3, 6, 2, 5. Michael says, is it kind of a rule that you can leave? Yeah, totally. That's my answer. Yeah, totally. I'm going to leave out the 5. Ready? C7. F. Just D7. No A minor 7. You can always interchange those. And if I ever had a cent, I'd be rich. It's Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. Sunny side of the street. I don't know if I got those words right, but make up your own words at that point. So yeah, Eric, no, it's not Eric, Michael, you can always interchange the 2 and the 5 on those on the dominant chords. You can just put a 2 in front of the 5, as I was demonstrating those secondary dominants. You can put the 2 in front of the 5. You can get rid of the 2. You can go back and forth. You can do 2, 5, even though it just says G7. Go D minor 7. So we'll talk about that at the B section there. Do you guys all have those chords down? Any questions? You got those subs, the G7 to the G sharp dim going into that A minor chord. I love that. I call that the gospel feel. I'm thinking that when I'm soloing too. It's so much fun to explore chords. That will help you with your chord melody playing. And of course, if you want my chord melody arrangement and the etude, grab it in the comments. You can see the description. There's a package deal if you're not on Patreon. If you're a Patreon member, you can already grab it if you're at the silver tier. So got the chords. Let's play the melody together. Ready? Very simple. Two, three. 2, 3. Good Good morning, Yukon. I like those bluesy slides. This is square. That's okay. It's good to learn it. I used to walk. And now we're at the B section. Yukon, you're okay. We went over this really epic jazz chord routine. You'll have to check it out later, okay? I appreciate you being a diamond tier on Patreon. Here's my plug. I've got 5 diamond tiers available on Patreon left. You can join the diamond tier on Patreon and get a private lesson with me once a month. And we can talk about whatever you want, focusing on where you're at and how I can help you. But if you're not on Patreon, please do join. There's a free tier level. It's just a great community. I mean, I'll speak from my own experience. Besides being the creator of my own Patreon, it's kept me inspired. I put new lessons every day on Patreon for the last, I want to say 3 years now. Every day I posted new materials. That keeps me going and keeps me really inspired. Instead, I would probably just be hanging out in coffee shops all day. So this motivates me to be productive and I've noticed that I've improved quite a bit by doing this. So Patreon is the community that will help you get better, I hope, and to learn. And I've got 4,500 Patreon exclusive posts and lessons of materials, songs, etudes, chord melodies, ukulele, everything. If you go back to my earlier posts, I even have mandolin tabs, but I kind of zeroed it in more toward jazz standards, gypsy jazz and bossa nova, Beatles, some pop stuff too that I like to do. Thank you, Yukon. Yeah, I've improved. I mean, again, just it keeps me motivated, especially during COVID, just having a nice community of all of you. So I really appreciate being here. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I always say learn the melody at least in one position, but it doesn't hurt to go. To know where it is. And there are some tricks. So let's talk about how to learn this melody. I was already kind of dissecting. We did a good job with the chords. Oh, we got to do the B section too. And the chords. I'll talk about that. I already gave it away. The chord progression is the honeysuckle rose B section. So if you don't already know the honeysuckle rose B section, you've got to do that. Well, I've got a private lesson that I'm supposed to get to at 10 a.m. So I think I need to log off in a couple minutes here. I don't want to be late for that. But this is so much fun. You'll have to check out my materials on the sunny side of the street. But again, all I'm going to say for the B section, learn honeysuckle rose. Let me know if you want me to do a lesson on honeysuckle rose. That's one of the most important jazz standards of all time, because everybody uses a honeysuckle rose B section. Every honeybee fills with jealousy. Okay, so we got the melody here. Michael, learn the melodies. Play it very square, then improvise around it. And then put chords. Yeah, Michael, we'll do the honeysuckle. I'm not going to go through the whole melody on the B section, but that's it for today, you guys. Thanks for tuning in on this lesson on not honeysuckle rose. What is this song? On the Sunny Side of the Street, an old classic. Django recorded. Everybody's recorded this one, so do learn it really well. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the Super Bowl Sunday today. Cheers.